Welcome to lockdown vlog number 46, and today I'm cheating a little bit because today I'm shooting two vlogs. This morning I shot and posted number 45, and this is number 46 on the same day because tomorrow is a more busy day for me and this gives me space tomorrow if I do it already today. So, welcome. Today I want to take you with some of my thought experiments that I've been wanting to do for a very long time and maybe give you something to think about or discuss in the comment section below. So I have this little app on my new phone that you saw this morning, but for you it is yesterday. This is just a little timer, you know these things. But what I've been doing, I've been looking at all the stuff that I have, and for a long time I wanted to count how many things actually do I have, how many loudspeakers, how many devices to play music or amplify music with. And if I know that, there's another point that I want to make. But let's go by the numbers first. And the first thing I want to share is how many loudspeakers that I have. And I'm also counting the subwoofers that I have lying around all over my house. And if I look at all the loudspeakers that I have, there's about 36 loudspeakers. Most of them are working, some of them not, and if I count the ones that are working, then I have 30 working loudspeakers in my house. So that's quite a lot. I'm sure I don't need that many, but that's what I call it, a hobby. And I have been buying some smaller of the bookshelf loudspeakers because they are cheap and fun to experiment with. And if you can find some in your neighborhood for cheap, it's just fun to experiment and see what these things can do in your house, in your setup. Then I went out and looked, so how many pieces of equipment, how many devices do I have that are needed to play music in all my different systems? And I ended up with 47 pieces of equipment that I have, working and non-working. And if I look at how many of those are working, it is still 38 CD players, amplifiers, preamplifiers, streamers, DA converters, tape decks, cassette decks, well, you name it. It adds up to 38 of them. And if I look, because every piece of equipment needs a power cable. Well, I do have one passive preamp, so that one doesn't need a power cable, but most of them need power cables. And as you can see on these on the Wilsonton, this has a power cable that you can change. You can take it off and put another one in, and the same goes for the CD player here, for example. I don't count the USB power cable for the Chromecast in these numbers. But if I look at how many of those pieces of equipment have a power cable that I could change if I wanted to, it is still 39 power cables. So I've not been counting all my interconnects. I realize now that maybe for another day, but 39 power cables. And to get to the point that I want to make for today, for example, if I want to play a file from my NAS, which is downstairs, how many pieces of equipment are involved in playing that one file? And when I look at that and I count them all, this is still 10 pieces of equipment. If you look at the NAS itself, of course, the router, the Ethernet hub I have here, the blue sound, because I am playing, of course, music from my NAS or streaming services from the blue sound, but this is not the only one that is in this chain in order to make some music, because the blue sound feeds into the DA converter, which feeds into the preamp, which feeds of course into the mono amps, and then it will end up in my loudspeaker as music that I can listen to. So all this equipment also needs a power cable, also need interconnects, other wirings, vibration control. Everything needs to be situated on something. I have the Wilsonton now, for example, on this bamboo plate. I don't know what is the correct word for a thing like that, but everything needs to be on something. And the point that I want to make after this long introduction is that the discussions are often, does a power cable work, does a interconnect work, do cones or spikes or rubber feet, or do they work? Well, as you all know, I think everything makes a difference. But for example, if you look at vibration control, let's assume that good vibration control will lead to a lower noise floor in the end result, which is listening to music through the loudspeakers. So let's assume that vibration control does matter. Now, if you put some rubber feet under, let's say, my mono amplifier, and that is the only thing that you do, would you be able to hear the difference? Well, maybe for a trained ear, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Probably it is going to be pretty difficult to hear that differences. But now multiply it by 10. Same goes for power cables. If we assume, I think they do, but if we assume that a good power cable, a good shielded power cable will lower the noise floor, meaning you will hear more micro detail in the music that you are listening to. Now you have 10 places where you can check, do I need a better power cable or not? The same goes for your interconnects, for your Ethernet cables, for, well, all those things. Maybe if you only do one thing in your 10 devices, maybe only you change one power cable, that might not be something that is interesting to do. But if you look at all those things and all those little things that may make a difference, and you check every piece of equipment in the chain that has to play the music, I'm sure that you will end up with a better result. And the end result is of course always what you hear in the loudspeakers. But I think if you look at all the changes that you can make, and you make it like I do, you make it and you address all those things, cables, stuff like that, then I am sure your system will sound better. Now, I do not know how much of these things that you already do. I do not know if you are aware of all the things that you could do. I hope that is something that my channel will teach you. But, well, ask yourself, how many devices do you have in order to play your music? Have you addressed all the different topics? And if not, well, give it a try. Something like vibration control, just put some rubber stuff under it or whatever, can be done in a very, very cheap way. I believe that even if you do it at one piece of equipment, it will make a difference, but especially because of the experiences that I've had throughout the years, I believe that if you do these things and look at all the devices that you have, that is what's going to make a change. So I hope that this gives you something to think about. I hope you are going to look at how many devices that you have. Well, if you like, let me know in the comments how many devices do you have, how many loudspeakers do you have in your house. And that's it for today. I thank you for watching and I'll see you tomorrow.